Hi, this is my second end-to-end data analysis project. I'll be using Excel and Tableau for this project. The reason why I'm using Excel and Tableau is I want a dynamic visual, dashboard that can be accessed anywhere and any time of the day. So I'll be using my Excel to pull data from the web and also do the data cleaning. Then I'll be pushing the clean data to Tableau to build my dashboard. Now, this dashboard will be published to my public Tableau profile, so it can be accessed anywhere. Right now, data storytelling is another way through which data analyst pass messages across to audience in an easy and comprehensible manner using visuals. And when a good data story is told, the audience gets maximum insight into what the data analyst is trying to say, and that in turn informs their actions and inactions. Right, so again, the data will be scraped and cleaned with Excel, and visualization and dashboarding will be built using Tableau. And the data is sourced from the Johns Hopkins GitHub repository that is updated 24/7. Basically, when I checked before starting this recording, it was updated 5 hours ago. Right, so by the time you are trying to replicate this project, you might say something like updated 8 hours ago. It means the data has been updated. So the reason why I'm scraping the data and not just download it is because I want the dashboard to be updated as long as the data in Excel is being updated. So I don't have to be going every now and then to the Johns Hopkins GitHub repository to be downloading new data file and be going through the same data cleaning process again, when I can actually automate that with my Excel. So I will be publishing the dashboard to Tableau public profile for audiences to have access to the dashboard in real life. Right. Thank you, and let's get started. So right here I have a new Excel workbook, and I navigated to the data ribbon, and I'm fetching the data from web. Right, but before that, the link to the data source is this. Right, so I'll open this link in my browser now and we can get started. So this is the link right here, opened in my browser, and we are working with the time series data. Right, so here we are dealing with the world data, not just US. Right, so we have the confirmed cases, so I'll open this on a new tab. We have the death global in a new tab, and we have the recovered global also in a new tab. Right, so for this I would click on view raw. Right, so when I clicked on view raw, it will load the data in this format. Right, this is a CSV file. So I'll copy this link right here. Right, then come back to my Excel, click on from web, and I will paste the link that I've copied from GitHub and click OK. So that would fetch the information from the web. Now it's going to ask me what is the level to which I want to go in pulling this data. Right, what is the level I want to go in pulling this data? So this is what I need. I'm just going to click on transform. I'm not loading. I need to do some data cleanings and all of that, and this will open up the Power Query Editor. Right, now the Power Query Editor is the inbuilt data cleaning capacity or tool for Excel. Right, now if I click on this button right here, come back to source, right, to source, and click on buttons, I can see columns is 883. Right, now it's just the column that is long, the row is very short. I can see the row to be 286 rows and the columns to be 883 columns. Now if we scroll to this place, we see that all of these columns are actually dates. So we get dates for each we get values for each date, and this is 2020 3rd of March, 23rd of March, and these are values for each country, right? So I want to remove this column first because I don't want my next set of information to be coming in this long format, right? So I'll go back to change type. Now the first thing I want to change here is to make these headers, this first line of rows here, the header. So I'm going to click on this and come to use first rows as header, and that will add the first row as my headers. Right, now the next thing I want to do is to make sure that all of these values are turned to all these other columns from 12220 down till the last 883 columns are unpivoted. So I have them in a single file and every single value right in front of that. So I'm going to hold my control button and select this very first 4 columns, right? And then I will right click and come to unpivot other columns, and that will change the values, that will change the arrangement for the other columns. Now I can see that my columns have changed to 6 columns and I have 999 plus rows of information. So I need to change this to dates and also change this to confirmed, right? Since this is for confirmed cases, so I will say confirmed, right? And that's basically for that. Now I can see that my date is in text. We can see the data type here to be text, right? Now I can change it here, but I won't be changing it now. I will change it once I have all the data all put together, right? So I want to rename this to confirmed cases, right? Then I will duplicate this so I can bring in the death cases and the recovered cases, right? So I will duplicate this again, so that makes it 3 since I'm working with the 3 data source that is provided. Now I will change this to death cases, right? Then I will change this also to recovered cases. Now what I need to do for these 2 new values is to come back to source and click on source settings, this settings right here, right? And that would open up this interface for me. Now I can go back to my web browser. Now click on raw for dates global, right? Click on raw and that would open up the raw for me. Then I can copy this as well, go back to my Excel and change the link right in this place. And once I click OK, that would fetch again the information right from GitHub. Now this is going to apply every steps that I did with the confirmed cases, and if we look at it right after each step, we'll be seeing what it's doing, right? That it is promoting headers, right? This has now made the headers the main columns. Now we have the change type, which is to have all of this selected. When we go to pivot, we can see that. Then when we named columns, we can see that. Now I need to change this column name right here to date, right? To date. Then I will do the same for the last data source. Then click on source again, go back to my browser, this time around recover, right? Then I'll click on raw and that will load up this and I'll copy that, go back to my Excel, paste this and click OK. So that also will pull the information from GitHub, and every time that information is updated. Now you can see we also have 883 columns, 271 rows. But when I apply every single steps, that would unpivot the information and put it in a proper shape that would align with the other two data sources. Now I can change this to recovered, right? And that's that. Now I need to put all of these informations together as a single file, so because I don't want to be connecting to multiple files at the same time. I want to have every single thing, every single data as one single source. So what I will do is to click on any of them, right? Click on any of them and come to merge queries. So I'll click on this drop down arrow and click on merge queries as new. Now this is going to open up a joining interface, which is known as joins in databases if you are familiar with SQL. Now this, I can select the table I want at the top here and the table I'm merging to at the bottom here. So since I'm starting with confirmed, I can merge confirmed with dates first or with recovered, any which one I decide to go with. Now I need to select the matching columns between the two tables, and I'm going to go with the province. Now don't forget to hold down your control button, the country, and also the date, and I'll do that for date cases as well: province, country, and date. Now in the can I just ignore level check? I think that's privacy. Let's just save that. Now join kind, right? We have left outer, right outer, full outer, inner. Inner will basically just join what is matching in the two columns, in the two tables rather. Full outer will join everything from the two tables. Right we join only the matching columns, the matching rows from the right table to the left table, and return everything in the right table, while your left outer will join everything from the left table to what is matching on the right table. So your right will join everything from the right table and the only thing that is matching from the left table. If you are familiar with SQL joins, this actually comes very easy. Now I'm seeing new ones, left hand here and right hand, and I think they basically explain what you get there. Now once that is done, right, we click OK, and that will come up with a new name, and then we can see merge one. Now if we scroll right here, we'll see that date cases is showing as table. Yeah, because it has numerous columns. Now we need to select which particular columns do we actually want to see in date cases. Now I'm just going to click on this arrow square left and right and uncheck select all columns and click on date, and I'm unchecking use original columns as name prefix, and I'm clicking OK, and that would give us the values for the date cases from the date table. Right now I can rename this as all COVID, right, data. So this is all COVID data. Now I need to join the last table to this, which is the recovered table. So I don't need to click on create as new again. I'll just merge query straight. And now which query am I merging? I'm merging all COVID data to date cases, to recovered cases rather, and I'm selecting the same thing, the column, the province column, country, and then the date. Same thing here, country and then the date, and I'm leaving it as left outer once again, and this will estimate the matching based on the data preview. And once that is done, I can wait for that to finish estimating, or just click on OK, and that would of course bring every single information in the recovered table, right? And you can click on this again and select the column that is needed, which is recovered, and click OK, right? And click OK. Now I have all of my data all put together in one source now, right? So this is the source that I will be refreshing for me to be getting updated information from the in my dashboard. Right now I need to format every single column to the appropriate data type, right? And date for one, I mentioned it earlier, date for one should be a date, not a text, right? So that should be a date. Then the confirmed cases, death cases, and recovered should be whole numbers, and they are already in whole numbers. You can see 1 2 3 1 2 3, right? Now the recovered information is not getting updated, right? It's not getting updated, but the confirmed cases and deaths keeps getting updated, for God knows why. Now once we are done here, we've put the information. One last thing to do is now to go back to the queries that is bringing this information right in, and remove this change data type, right? Change type, since we have that handled in the last file that we have right there, right? So we'll do the same thing for death cases, remove the change type, and also from here remove the change type. Then to recovered cases, remove the change type, then remove the change type, right? So, and then we have that, since we have the change type here, which changes the single data type that we are changing, which is date. And once we are done, we'll click on this close and load, and that will load the information right from Power Query into our Excel sheet, right? And every time we are connected to the internet, we can refresh each of these data source, and that will by default update all COVID data. That will by default update all COVID data, and this is the best way to go about it. You don't want to have redundant data that you have to be going to your GitHub file or wherever the data source is and go and be downloading, right? And go and be downloading it. It makes no sense, right? It makes no sense. Now we have this. Peradventure, I want to refresh this information right now. I can click on this button here, and that if I click on that now, this will refresh, and let's see if it's just get updated or it has not been updated. Now it's pulling right from the source. It's pulling right from the source, and there is nothing to load. That's still what we have there. Now you can see the dates and the confirmed have the same value. So that is what I mentioned earlier, that the recovered cases stops getting updated, but this is what we are dealing with right here. Now if you look at this, we have some blanks that does not have province or states, right? We can get this updated by just putting no province, right? So we know how many countries does actually now have a province, right? Instead of having it as blanks as it is, right? Then we can decide to focus our analysis on Africa, or we can decide to focus it on EU countries, or we can decide to focus it on just a single country, be it Nigeria, be it Togo, be it Senegal. Let's take a quick look at Nigeria. right? So Nigeria, and this is Nigeria. If we look at if we press on this, we have 880 confirmed cases. That's nice. That should give us the sum, not the count. It's not summing it up. Oh, I guess I don't know why. Okay, so that's going to be the end of this. So this is the first part, right? Now the continuation basically will be now to take this to pivot table and perform some basic data wrangling and column generation on that. Okay. Okay, so now let's start formatting the data into I'm just going to remove this filter on Nigeria so that we can have for every information. Now we can close this connection here, right? We can close that so we have a larger view for our data, and we can also shrink this to this place. Now we need to format this information rightly. Now these are meant to be showing as numbers, but you can see here it's showing as generals. So we can do it in two ways. It's either we go back to our query, right, and click on edit, or we change that from general to number. But let's look at it what we have here, and we can see right here that these columns are not formatted as numbers, they are formatted as text. So we need to change that to whole number, right? And that would apply changing the data type to whole numbers, right? Now once that is done, we can click. Now this is now changed as numbers. We can click save and load, and if we go back here, we should be able to refresh this query, right? Once we refresh is already running in the background, which we should be able to see. So it's refreshing in the background. Once that refresh is done, these columns right here should be now it's showing right here that background is running in the background, right? It's running in the background, and this is what it's doing. So once that refresh is done, it will now load those values as numbers, and we can see that the values are now to the right hand side compared to when they were in the left hand side before. So we can shift this back again and have these values right straight down and have them as numbers, right? Have them as numbers, and of course we don't need decimal points, so that shows them as numbers, right? Now we want to get the year from each value, right? So we want to get the year. Now how do we get the year? Is equals to year from this date, right? And that would give us the year. Now it's easier for us to filter the data using the year. Now we can see that we have data for 3 years: 2020, 2021, and 2022. All right. So the next thing we want to get is the month, right? So that we can have that, and lastly will be the day. Now for the month, we can get the month by value, but that wouldn't make sense for our analysis, for the months to be showing 1, 2, 3 down to 12. So what we need is the name of the month, and we can get that by using the text function in Excel. Now we are getting the month from this value, and we need the month name, so we write 4M, right? If you write 4M or 3M, that should give us the month name. The short name, 3M will give us the short name. So January will be stored as JAN, February will be stored as FEB. But if we have it in 4M instead of 3, that will give it to us in full name, and that will be too much, right? It won't make our analysis clean. Now if we write it in 2, that would give us value, which is 01, 02, 03, 04, 05 down to 12, but we need it to be in text, which is this. Now also this month, this year, we don't need it as text. We are not adding it together. We need it to have, we don't need it as number, we need to have it as text. So it's as text. Then day 2, now we don't need the day as text, we need it as the normal value, right, which is 1 to 12, and we'll get that using the day function, and that would give us the values of the days. Right now we are done. Like I said, we can fill up this province by saying not provided. So we can have a new province here and say province basically, right? And what we'll do here is to write an if statement that says if this place is blank, right, if is equals to empty, that is nothing is there, what should show is not provided, right? Else it should show us the value that is in that column, or that is in that cell. Now when we press enter, you can see that for all the blank cells right here, we have of course not provided. Now if we check, we can see our beta is the first column, first value that is showing right here. Now if we come here and check, we can see our beta is still the first thing that is showing. Now how do we retain this and remove this from our table, then bring this to the front? Is we click on this and copy. Right now when we are pasting right here, we paste value, right, so that the value that we are getting from here cannot be completed. Okay, yeah, we get that now. So we'll copy this, and then paste the original value back to this place. Why its selection includes select and try outside. Okay, let's do this. All we can do is let's paste it here. If copying it from there will not work, I think pasting the value here should work. Right, that works. So we have the value here, and we can of course remove this by using Ctrl X and insert it before this. Okay, oh yeah, because this is a table design, so that's why, because this is a table design. So we can of course remove this. Let's leave it as that. That's actually not affecting our analysis. So what we can do is, we need this to be part of the table. So what we can do is go to the last column here, to the last cell, and you see this thing, you can drag it to this side, and that will include this column as part of our table, right, as part of our table. Now we can of course delete this because we actually don't need it, right? And let's see if we can drag this and bring it right here. Oh, it did allow us to do it that way. So we can swap the columns back and have it in that place. So that works, and voila, we have So we can rename this to province or state back and leave it that way. All right. So